If you would please stand, remove your headgear, put your hand over your heart or salute, and remain so until after the singing of the national anthem by Brenda Wilkins. And we ask you to join in as she sings the national anthem. Color bearers, post the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I can remember as a young boy growing up in Salida and visiting this wall frequently and touching the names of my dad and two uncles. This wall holds great significance for me, as I am sure it does for many others. I knew personally many of the persons whose names are written here, and nearly all of them are gone. However, this wall will keep their memories alive for many years to come. By military standards, they may not have performed any heroic duties, but all served honorably and secured freedoms we enjoy today. And for this, they are all heroes and members of what is now called the greatest generation. We have some distinguished guests with us who will share their role in the restoration of this wall and their significance to it. I would like to call first the owners of the building, Wayne and Paula Lawyer.
Hey, what a glorious day we have to celebrate this special occasion. A real welcome to all of you, locals and visitors. First of all, I would like to offer our thanks to Larry and Louise Cashadurian for making this day possible. From the time Larry first knew of the Honor Roll Board, he was interested in bringing it to life again. He provided the leadership and much of the personal physical work to make his vision a reality. Thanks also to Tony Zelenko, who worked right alongside of Larry, to Dan Johnson, who raised the funds to pay for the project and oversaw the inclusion. And Dan also oversaw the inclusion of names formerly omitted. To Dan Larkin, who was always there when something needed to be done. To Thaddeus Hust for the brick and mortar work. To Natalie Feinberg Lopez, whose research and expertise brought together the right materials and procedures for the successful project she oversaw. To Michelle Wayland and Jen Cody, who painted the names. To Terry Alexander for providing scaffolding, and to Gary at Salida Rental for providing the rolling ladder truck that the girls used to paint on. This building has a varied history itself. It was constructed around 1890 after the 1888 fire and has housed a meat market at 147F and a saloon at 143F. The saloon became a drugstore in 1897, established by R.F. Davis. He was succeeded by E.D. Thompson and then George W. Armstrong, who sold the drugstore to W.C. Alexander. Alexander and his wife Harriet operated the business as a drug and jewelry store. By 1927, the meat market occupied the 143F location, and Wagner's Pharmacy was located at 147F. In 1930, the drugstore was replaced by Safeway Stores, Inc. Then Jack and Catherine Long later operated a drug and jewelry store at the combined 143-147F location under the name Alexander's, Inc. Wayne and Paula Lawyer purchased the Long's business in 1972 and operated a pharmacy and gift shop until retiring in 2012 and 13. Larry Cashadurian remodeled the building and opened the F Street 5 and Dime in 2014. There will be a lot of thank yous today, but the greatest thanks goes to the men and women whose names are represented on this wall. Some of them made the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. Others returned home to live out their lives with the scars and memories of the horrors of war. May this honor roll board symbolize our undying gratitude to them for years and years to come.
Thank you, Wayne and Paula. I would now like to call on Mr. and Mrs. Larry Carduchian, the owners of the 5 and Dime.
Hello, folks. I guess the easiest thing for me to do is answer the questions that I keep getting every day, and this way I can answer it one more time. And I get asked one question all the time, and if I answer it this time, I won't have to answer it anymore. Did I know it was there? No, not really. I don't think anybody did. When I say I didn't know it was there, or we didn't know it was there, we didn't know the condition of it. We knew it was there at one time because we had a picture, but that's all we had. And the areas that we could see, the lower areas, were destroyed. There was no paint there. And then during the demolition process, we accidentally knocked a chunk of stucco out of the wall from the inside, and we could see the letters. And that's when we decided we were going to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. But in order to do it, I had to find out everything I could about it. So when I asked around town who could help me with this, everybody said we had a historian, Dan Johnson. So you have this unique phone book
that you just pick up the phone book and everybody's name is in it. In most cities that's not possible, but here it is. You don't go to Google to find out Dan's phone number, you get the little book out. So my manager, Connie, gives me a 4-digit number and says, call that number. I'm like, that's only 4 digits. I don't understand. She looked at me like I was lost. I said, I don't understand. Everybody's prefix is the same, she says. So she explained it to me, and I called Dan up, and he came to visit me, and he was excited right away. And he said to me, if you do this, I'll get the money together. I'll visit every house, every business in the county if I have to get you that money. So, I was opening up a business. Then we had that big event last year, the Mumford & Sons concert, and I got all tangled up with business, and it took an extra year to get started on this. That's when he gave me that green bananas line. He told me, what are you waiting on? So, one fall morning last year, I called up my neighbor, Dan Larkin, and said, Dan, come with me. We have a project. He had no idea what I was talking about. I said, I need someone to sit in a chair and talk to people while I get this little hammer and chisel out and start right here. Because people are going to know what I'm doing. And if I have to answer, we'll never get anywhere. So Dan answered questions all day, and at the end of about 6, 7, 8 hours, I had cleared about a 4-foot square out of the wall. I estimated it would take me 30 days to complete the project by myself with the hammer and the chisel. So that night I went to my hangout, Currents, to get something to eat, and Diamond, Chris, and Brad asked me what I was doing. I explained it to them, and they said, what time tomorrow? 9 o'clock the next morning, I had 6 volunteers. And what I thought would take 30 days took 2 days. And due to some lessons from William Bodie, before he passed away, I got to spend some time with him, and he had some experience removing stucco. He told me the nails were the scariest part. See, when they put stucco up, they first put chicken wire up, and they nail it to the Salida brick with roofing nails. If you try to pull those nails out, half the brick's going to come with it. He explained to me, you got to take your time with each nail, pull up the edges, spin it around, and work it out slowly. Sounded like a lot of fun when I saw over 1,000 nails on this wall. So my thought was, I'll just leave the nails there and we'll paint over them. Where are you, Natalie? Natalie said, no, you won't. You're pulling every one of those nails out. So I got my #1 helper, Tony Zelenko, to come help me. And we spent a few days on it, and no matter what we did, there were still a couple nails left. It seemed like they were growing. Anyway, eventually we got most of them. And then Natalie and these girls took over. Made us look like geniuses. Because it is beautiful. And now, we're going to leave it in the hands of Rick Shovall to make sure it stays this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. I think almost everybody knows Danny. He will be our next speaker, but I want to mention a couple of things. About a year ago, I appointed him as our historian of the American Legion. It couldn't have been a better job. As Larry mentioned, Danny practically single-handedly has procured over $28,000 for this project.
You know I can't talk when there's tears in my eyes. Thank you very much. I'll make mine kind of short. I've had a little bug the last few days. The Salida Elks Lodge 808 dedicated the Chaffee County Honor Roll Board on Armistice Day, Wednesday, November 11th, 1942 at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. All the names are World War II veterans from Chaffee County. We also know the names were painted on the wall by Monty and Bill Reekers. Their great-granddaughter and granddaughter is here today. Kelly Kavanaugh, would you please stand? And her daughter. We've added over, well, I don't know how many new names now, probably 70 or so. I've changed this several times here. But we've added somewhere around 70 or so new names to the original names. So there's pushing 700 names on this wall. If you notice the names with a star, they were killed in action. And the wall was stuccoed over in '64. Jack Long leased the building at that time. We've received donations from some 1,000 donors from 8 states and 16 towns and cities in Colorado. Natalie Feinberg Lopez has been in charge of the restoration with Michelle Whalen, along with others, doing the painting. I thank them from the bottom of my heart for getting these names restored. A special thanks to Wayne and Paula Lawyer, Larry and Louis Cachadorian. Let's give them a real big hand. I'll read the names of some of the veterans that were killed in action that's on this wall. Cyril J. Coster, Laverne Knipp, Walter G. Barnhill, Jack Rundell, Frank Holman, Harry T. Ostrom Jr., Jose B. Gallegos, Joe A. Gallegos, Pete A. Martinez, Tony J. Martinez, Frank J. Coscarelli, John N. Maestas, David D. Pacheco, Stephen B. Pitt, Theodore D. Benjowski, Philip L. Scholl, Frank B. Smith, James L. Price, Richard G. Haley, Raymond Thorpe, and Roy Bornhill. Now there are a few that are still living in our area, and I'm going to read their names. And if I get through here, if the ones in the audience are here, I'd like for them to raise their hand and maybe come over here after everything's over and have a photo shoot. But we have Bill Shake, Dominic Pasquale, Charles J., Ernie Lenza and Dominic Lenza, Daniel Granzella, and Sam DeLeo. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. And it has meant a lot to me, and I know it meant a lot to a lot of people in this crowd. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I would now like to call on Natalie Feinberg Lopez, the project manager.
How's that? Can you hear me? I'm Natalie Feinberg Lopez, and an architectural conservator that was brought here to Salida for the honor wall. My job is historic preservation, and my developer friends call me a building hugger. I prefer to think of those in my profession as experts at saving the good stuff. We're now part of the digital age where new information comes faster than a heartbeat. I'm captured by the possibilities of this new world, but as we embrace the digital age, I find that we miss the more tangible elements of our human past, the makings of our history. My sister works at Pixar Studios. She's a genius with the digital world. She's able to take equations and code and develop a digital environment that can visually represent a world we not only recognize, but one we're entranced by. She builds magic. Our work is so different. My job is to take physical relics of the past, dust off the cobwebs, and attempt to breathe new life into them. When done right, it creates a visceral human experience that no programmer, no matter how genius, can recreate. It is a human experience with its own magic. I believe that historic preservation allows us to preserve small elements of our history. I believe that it helps to keep us human in a digital age, and after working on this project, maybe even a little more humane. As for this project, the Salida Honor Wall, I received a phone call and was able to stop by for a visit just as the light was changing, the temperature was dropping. By the end of the meeting, all of our teeth were chattering, but I could see by the mural that had been unveiled, this was no easy conservation project. The brick had deteriorated, 1,000 nails needed to be removed from the surface, and the paint was literally ready to blow away in the wind. I suggested that we fully document all aspects of the mural, remove the paint, attend to the brick and mortar, repaint the mural in exact detail. It was the more standard procedure with lesser costs. No one at the meeting was having it. Everyone wanted to preserve the paint as it appeared. In my profession, I've heard that paint is paint and it's given little value. But standing in front of the wall with the people who were in charge of this project, they saw the brush strokes of the original artist, the evidence of the handwork, and found value in keeping that. While my admiration of those I was meeting with increased tenfold, so did my mental calculations of the cost. We decided to attempt to preserve all evidence of the original hands that made the wall, to keep them intact, to replicate any areas of loss with as much detail and as exactly as possible from historic photographs. The paint, mortar, and colors were analyzed in laboratories to match all the original elements. We decided to use as many local artisans as possible. Thaddeus Husk, I have to say, you guys have a gem here. To be able to find Thaddeus to work on this project was a lifesaver. He's from Salida, and he repaired the brick and mortar. Michelle Whalen from Hartzell, again, we couldn't have done it without her. She spent literally hundreds of hours in the sun, wind, and rain to complete this restoration of the names on time. Jennifer Cody came to us she's from Salida and insisted in the last few days to make sure we could get everything done on time. And Katie Hardwood from Boulder came down just for a few hours. She loves Salida and wanted to contribute. Of course, none of this would have happened without Larry Kachadorian's discovery, enthusiasm, and personal donations of time and money. My mental calculations never accounted for the hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteer hours contributed by all involved, the intense dedication that all made the project come in on time and under budget with highly technological conservation methods. If I've done my job correctly, the paint should last for another 50 to 100 years. I hope you agree. I hope you agree that despite the project being under budget, it looks like $1 million. Normally in my work, the best moment is seeing the final product. The foundations are straightened, the walls are fixed, the mortar repointed, original paint schemes are restored. A forgotten place has hopefully recaptured the dignity that time has stripped away. And if you're very lucky, a project has activated the community to be proud of their collective past. Normally, this is the best moment. Not with this project. On this occasion, it is the place and the people who are by far the best moment. The kickoff meeting ended with hugs all around. Anything the team needed was provided for quickly, such as shade, ice water, sustenance, etc. No workday went by without a barrage of compliments and encouragement hurled at us from passing trucks, bikes, and pedestrians. A day wasn't complete without a visit from Dan Johnson informing us of the latest news, research, and new names to be added to the wall, all delivered with charm and humor. The Mountain Mail was always checking on us to get the latest updates, and I thank them for all of the encouragement they gave with the work in the paper. I witnessed family, children, grandchildren, and total strangers finding familiar names, names of loved ones, and remembering our veterans. One day, a woman passed by who was in the service. She offered thanks and encouragement, and at the end of our conversation, she said, "There is no wall large enough to contain all the names." I had to stop and think for a moment. In my mind's eye, I envisioned a wall with more names being added, all the names of the veterans from World War II, all from Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. There is no wall big enough to contain all the names. I had to clear my eyes of the truth of that statement. My grandfather was part of the invasion of Normandy. I know of no memorial with his name. I've seen this memorial. These 700 names remind people of the pride we all share for the men and women who serve our country, whether they are loved ones here in Chaffee County on this wall or elsewhere, or never mentioned. This simple paint, a wall with names, it serves as a literal touchstone so we may all remember. The fact that Salida is the keeper of such a memorial shows the dedication and pride of this town towards the men and women who enlisted in the 1940s. This pride shows once again as everyone has put so much time, money, and effort towards this restoration. That is my favorite moment in this project, the people of this town and of this county. That is the diamond worth preserving. To everyone here, I thank you for including me as part of this project. It has been a very great honor. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you, Natalie. When this project was first conceived, Salida Elks Lodge, number 808, was a big sponsor. And today, I'd like to call on Carl Hasselbrink, the former past exalted ruler of the Elks and Vietnam veteran.
Thank you, all. I was once told that everyone making a speech should understand that a speech has a beginning and an end. The closer they are together, the more people appreciate it. I'm here representing Lodge 808 of the Elks. The Elks has always been involved in working with and for veterans. Further down? Oh man, I'm getting shorter, I guess. Elks' history and of involvement with those veterans, it is documented to include the fact that when the first tent-type general hospitals were sent to Europe with the doughboys in the Great War, they were sent by the Elks, not by the government. I must also thank John Wenstrom for his diligence in locating the record of a number of the speeches that were made during the original dedication over at the lodge. As a community, we are gathered here to rededicate this roll of honor to those local people who served in the armed forces of our country during World War II. We must thank the Lawyer family for allowing the restoration of this roll of honor. We also thank those who labored and donated to bring this project and rededication to fruition. Larry Kachadorian, is that right? Of the Five and Dime has our gratitude for his dedication in returning this landmark to our community. The names hereon were all members of our county who swore allegiance to the officers and elected officials above them appointed. Most were still alive when my family moved here in 1968. They were characters. Oh my God, were they characters. They were friends. They were amazing friends. They had amazing stories and they had dreams. for the future, one and all. This roll was dedicated on the 24th anniversary of Armistice Day. Now, as we approach the 98th anniversary of Armistice Day, it's time to rededicate ourselves to the principles for which they and all American veterans have donned the weariness of battle. George Nuckolls, Dr. George Nuckolls, the Colorado State Elks chaplain in 1942. Comments bear repeating, although I did have to update some of them a little. On Armistice Day 1918, we looked forward. Today, we rededicate this honor roll. Around every name is a halo, a benediction, a prayer, and a hope. We rededicate this honor roll and the names of the men and women on it to the memories of the years that were. This honor roll is dedicated to the living courage of that generation as they went to do their part in redeeming the world. This honor roll is dedicated to the confidence and faith of those who once again proved the nobility of courage, of life, and the will to live and to die if need be before any consideration. We honor those who serve in our hearts, and we honor the names inscribed hereupon, and honor the peoples from whose hearts and homes they came. As history moves forward, as the youth of our country continue in phalanx after phalanx to meet the requirements of our home of the brave.
Thank you, Carl. I would now like to call on our mayor, the Honorable Jim Levici.
This is phenomenal. I am honored to be seated up here with these people. That's just, oh gosh. And our vets back there, yeah, golly. I am honored to be part of this community. I think it shows when a community gets together what can be done, and I'm honored to be part of this. I think all too often we take for granted that we can just walk the streets, we can do what we want, but in these United States of America we can't do that, and it's because of these people, and those people that have provided that for us, and all too often we just take that for granted. I am delighted to be here. I am honored, and I wish I could just tell you how I feel inside, because it's just pretty much overwhelming. We have a great community, our vets, everybody here. I just want to thank you all for being here, be part of this presentation, and we should be proud of them, you, and all of us, because without all of us, we won't have this. And thank you, gentlemen and ladies, and thank you all here, very much so.
Thank you, Jim. And last but not least, a son of Salida, United States Army General, retired Major General Wally Golden.
As a proud Army veteran with deep Salida roots, I appreciate the invitation from my friend American Legion Post 64 Commander Jim Preston to attend today's ceremony, and I'm honored to be with you this afternoon to make a few remarks about the rededication of the Chaffee County World War II Honor Roll. This wall, as has been stated, established on June 30th, 1942, was appropriately dedicated 5 months later on Armistice Day, November 11th, 1942, by the Salida Elks Lodge. We are very grateful that this piece of Salida history was restored through the joint efforts of Larry Cachadorian, Natalie Feinberg Lopez, and my friend, World War II Navy vet, Danny Johnson, among all the others that have been recognized today. The approximately 700 names listed on this wall honor Chaffee County residents who served during World War II, including my uncle, William P. Giles. Let's remember what was going on in 1942 when the idea for this wall was turned into reality. It had only been 7 months since the Japanese attacks on Pearl Harbor. Only 2 months had passed since the United States led its first aerial attack on Japan with Doolittle's Raiders. To meet increasing mobilization demands for U.S. troops, the minimum draft age was lowered from 21 to 18 years of age, and U.S. gas rationing went into effect at 3 gallons per week. It was a time when the United States was at war with the Axis powers led by Germany and Japan, and the outcome wasn't certain. What was certain was the commitment, patriotism, and unity of the United States and its citizens to ensure that our freedom and way of life were not compromised. One of the members of Salida Elks Lodge 808 in 1942 was my grandfather, Frank France, a World War I veteran and railroader, and like his Elks brothers, proud of the next generation of young men who are standing up to defend their country in a time of need. I am sure that the completion of this wall rallied our small mountain town, lifting the morale and providing them with a common sense of purpose as they sacrificed for the war effort and helped families whose loved ones were far away from home. How appropriate that this wall be restored now, while much of our nation is so divided during an election year. Let us not lose sight of the ties that bind us, especially today on Independence Day. Let us vow to remember those that have gone before us, those that serve and have served our country in lands far away, and the families that they leave behind. God bless all of you gathered here today to remember and commemorate a significant piece of Salida, Colorado, and our nation's history on Independence Day. Congratulations to all of you whose ancestors appear on this wall, and I challenge all of you to continue to commemorate the Salida men and women who serve our country. Finally, I hope that this commemoration will inspire young men and women to serve their country, much as I was inspired as a young man by many of the successful Salida businessmen and civic leaders, men whose names have now been uncovered and again appear proudly on this wall behind me.
Thank you, Wally. At this time, it is appropriate and fitting to honor another group of veterans, namely those killed in action, those prisoners of war, and those missing in action. After this proclamation is read, taps will be played by our bugler, and our official ceremony will be concluded. Then everyone who wishes is invited to come forward and examine the wall. A KIA, POW, MIA, and MP chair is placed at all official meetings of the American Legion as a physical symbol of the thousands of American KIA, POW, and MIAs still unaccounted for from all of the wars and conflicts involving the United States of America. This is a reminder for all of us to spare no effort to secure the release of any American prisoners from captivity the repatriation of the remains of those who died bravely in defense of liberty, and a full accounting of those missing. Let us rededicate ourselves for this vital endeavor. Thank you all for sharing in this ceremony.